All right. And so now we're going to quickly go into cumulative enrollment, homeless, and reclassified fluent proficient. Okay. And the reason why these are all three grouped together is nothing submitted for these data collections is new. Even if you're brand new to CalPads, if you started with fall one, you've submitted this data already, right? And so cumulative enrollment counts are determined by the enrollment file. Typically, that's part of ongoing maintenance as students change enrollment status or leave or transfer to your district, your school, your county office, whatever have you. You should be updating enrollment records quite regularly, at least once a year, probably best twice a year. I know people who do it daily and weekly, just depends on the size of your district. Cumulative enrollment is the count of a student that was enrolled at any time during the academic year. So that's July 1st to June 30th of the following year. Now, if you want to see the students that were just enrolled in the academic year, again, it's not a summer school graduate, it's not a carryover enrollment. You can use the report and filter for the adjusted cumulative enrollment. And that's just to count of those students from 7/1 to June 30th, right? If you exit a student July 15th, right, you let 131 persist and you exit a student at July 13th. Say they're a 12th grader and they graduate on July 15th, 2021. That enrollment record elapses 2 years. And that's where you would have a student counted in your cumulative enrollment for 21-22, but really their enrollment was in 2021. And so that's the value of the adjusted cumulative enrollment. It's only going to account those students that began after 7/1. Why is the cumulative enrollment important? Well, one, it lets you account, right? Cumulative enrollment is a high profile number. It's used in the measurement of the size of your school district. It's also used to determine your suspension rate, your expulsion rate, your chronic absenteeism rate, and your truancy rate. Pretty much any rate measuring your student population is going to be based on a cumulative enrollment. So it's important to understand how your data is being calculated by the state. Okay, you go ahead, Kyron.
Yeah, so this slide here just basically emphasizes a change in the end of year collection this year. So in prior years, the 1-year grad was incorporated in the cumulative enrollment report that Nate mentioned a few slides ago. But starting this year, the grad collection is now its own separate reports. I mean, so there's report to 122 and 123. This should represent all your grads and completers for this current academic year or reporting period. So it's between 8/16 of last year up to 8/15 of 2021.
And the value of this report is shows the result of that group of students that began in one ninth grade year and what has happened 4 years later. Some of those students graduate a year late or a year early. And so you have the 1-year grad count. Also, if you're at a DAS school, a DASS school, this is a great report for you as well. There's one other thing I wanted to talk about. The data for this report, again, is submitted as part of ongoing maintenance. It's going to be your exit codes and your completion status codes are what's going to determine if a student is a graduate or not. Certainly those students that eventually become dropouts are still reported in the subsequent fall one. However, just because of accountability and the dashboard, we move the graduate count to end of year and have sped up the timetable on getting those students reported. So you really have until August 15th, when it's the last possible student that can graduate. You have 13 days until August 27th is when it has to be in CalPads and finalized, right? So
Yeah.
it's a tight window. And that's for a
This
couple of
essentially,
years now.
yeah, this essentially replaces the fall one completers and grads that we've been collecting in prior years.
I appreciate you jumping in, Kyron. I was stumbling for a minute. Homeless count. So again, this was added last year. It has been collected for several years. It was originally part of end of year 2 with the programs and then moved to end of year 3. When you find out a student is homeless, a lot of it is during registration, right? That's when we verify addresses and whatnot, but a family could come in at any time and their situation could change. Parents don't want mail going to the old residence, whatever it happens. when you find out that a student is homeless, and typically, this is self-reported, right? You would just update that in CalPAS, and the program record can stay open indefinitely, right? As long as the student is out of a permanent residence, but it's expected to be verified annually, right? And again, this is a lot of times aligns with the enrollment. But when a student is no longer homeless, you just update their address. Typically, the parents want mail coming to the house in regards to their student. So that would be the update. And then you have to know the additional fields like the dwelling type and, okay, so the dwelling type and the unaccompanied youth are additional requirements used. But, you just look at report 5.5 or 5.4, identify if you have any homeless students. And we'll talk about the reports later, but this data may have already been submitted. That's why we're real brief on it. And then RFEP reporting has been added to end of year 3 as well. It was for years part of end of year 1 because the collection period was weird, right? We're counting students as of census day, but the way the data is used for accountability, it's calendar year. And so we're just aligning ourselves with the way the data is used. And so you will technically report RFEPs twice this year. And that's just because we didn't want to have a gap. So you'll see some students that may have been included in fall 1 reported again, and some of those students included in fall 1 won't be part of end of year 3. And so going forward, your RFEP counts will be part of end of year 3. They're going to come from your CELA file. And of course, RFEP are reclassified fluent English proficient students. These are those English learners that have progressed to proficiency within the academic year.